I'll get it together. Welcome everybody to Slice of Pie Teen Thursday. We are so excited. We have a total rock star in the house tonight, and I'm here with Cheresse Thornhill-Goldson. Say what's up,
Hey
Cheresse.
everyone. What's up? Hey everyone. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Hi,
Hey,
thank you for
Bella.
coming.
So, all right, I'm going to go ahead and kick it off before we go into our questions. We've been having already a good conversation backstage, and I'm going to tell y'all some of what happened. But before we go into that, I do want to properly introduce Cheresse because she is the director of, and I have my cheat sheets because I have no intentions of messing any of this up. Okay, not
No
tonight.
problem.
So, director of design, education, and growth, the global creative direction, owning the global creative direction at Adidas and the S.E.E.D program. And we're going to talk a lot about the S.E.E.D program because when I first heard about this, first of all, part of the issue that we have in our community is folks do not have access to the information. So what I want to do tonight is make sure that we get as much information out. There are a lot of teens that are looking for non-traditional careers, a lot of designers, a lot of really talented folks. So we just want to make sure we get all the information out, Cheresse, and talk as much about your program. And then I'm so excited. We're going to have you come back in November, and then we're going to talk a little bit about grown folk stuff. Okay.
Very cool. Awesome.
All right, Bella. So go ahead, Bella.
So first of all, thank you so much for coming. We're so incredibly happy that you could make it. I would love to know more about your background and how you got into design in the first place.
Sure. So I'm from South Florida. So I grew up in Miami. And, I was the kid in my family that was always drawing someone in the family or making some types of arts and crafts or, trying to sell things to my family members to try to make some extra dough. Usually it's something that I made. But I also love sports as well. So I grew up playing basketball. And, I think I discovered footwear design when I was in the 5th grade on the PE, court. There was a kid that came on the court with the Jordan 10s. I don't know if anyone knows, which design that is. Exactly. But the first time I saw the Jordan 10s, I think that was my first realization that sneakers aren't just sneakers. They're not just something you put on your feet, but they're a way of self-expression. They are also fashion, but also functional. And, they were. And I think also in our culture, it's about the shoes, right? Like you pick your shoes first and then you pick the rest of your outfit. And, I think I found all the things I love in that particular product type. And I was really fortunate throughout my education in South Florida to be part of the magnet program. So it's a network of schools that sort of feed into each other. And I always had an art teacher at every point in my life. And I can go back and name them. I always had an art teacher that took, a lot of care for me and an affinity for me and really sort of mentored me from one stage to the next. And, I had an opportunity to go off to a design high school. So design and architecture senior high in South Florida. And that's where I really learned about product design and I learned about sneaker design even more so, and that I could actually make a career out of it. So yeah. And so from high school, I went on to college. I studied industrial design in college and then I had the great fortune of starting my career at Nike. And I was there for almost 10 years. And went back into teaching as well because I also understood that education had been the great equalizer for me. Back to what we talked about before. There's so many things we would love to do. We just don't have access to it, or we don't know how to even do it, or we don't know anyone in the industry actually doing the thing we want to do. So a lot of that information is just veiled and we don't have a lot of access. And I understood that and I wanted to help bring about that change. So I resigned from Nike and I went back to South Florida. I started teaching at my old high school. I taught design at the college level for a bit. And then I discovered, through one of my mentors that Adidas was starting a program, which I'll talk a little bit more about that now and a little bit more about that later. But that's how I kind of got into this industry. And I'm excited to talk a little bit more about it and just, share more information about it as well.
I love that. Before Bella, you go to the next question, because there are so many teens that are considering these types of careers, and this is kind of, look, taking the mommy hat off for a minute. This is kind of where when you see something special in your kid and their talent, where you do want to encourage them. And just because I don't, as an older over 50 woman, don't understand this world of design, it doesn't mean that that I become the barrier or set the boundaries where the kid doesn't learn it. So I highly encourage parents, like, when your kids are showing a certain talent and skill, like, this for me is so important, because a lot of times we shut our kids down because we don't know what we don't know that their careers involved. So I really appreciate the sacrifice you made leaving Nike to go back to teaching and really helping folks again in our community. And now, obviously, you kind of shifted that, and you're touching a broader group. So I, as a parent, thank you for that level of sacrifice to come back and kind of show us all the way.
For sure. And I appreciate my family and my mother, my grandmother in particular, because they never were that barrier for me. They always supported me in any of the endeavors I wanted to take on. And if they didn't know about themselves, it wasn't a reason for me not to pursue it. They just created an opportunity for me to do it. So, I'm grateful for them as well.
I love that. All right, Bella.
All right. I would love to know some more information about what S.E.E.D is, and just more details about what y'all do. What's your goal for S.E.E.D?
Sure. So S.E.E.D, it's called School for Experiential Education in Design, and we're based within the Adidas brand. So we're also working out of the New York office. So that's where I am currently. And the program was founded by, two of my amazing teammates, Jessica Smith and Liz Conley, who were part of the talent organization at Adidas. And they saw an opportunity to create a program that was specifically for women and for women of color to gain access to, the awareness of creative fields, access to that education, and a pipeline into a role. So our program right now, we're focused on women of color to create opportunities for them to get educated in footwear design and then gain access into the industry. So our program's 2 years. We pay our students to learn, and it really serves as an alternative to the university route. We know colleges and universities, the cost is skyrocketing. And even from a design university standpoint, the school that I went to, and this was maybe 15 years ago since I graduated, it was a great institution and I learned a lot. It was just very expensive, so much so I'm still paying for it. So, if I had to do it again, I probably wouldn't be able to if I was going to try to do that today. And so our program, the barriers to entry are pretty low. You just have to be at least 18 years of age, have completed high school and have an ability to work in the U.S. and have a somewhat of a creative background, whatever that means for you. And what we do is we really invite young women to come and co-create with us, to experience design with us. And we get to experience design with them. And we put on these events called creator camps. And so that's the way in which we recruit. And we also build community, because I think, again, and I've maybe shared this before, but as creatives, it's important that we don't just create in a vacuum by ourselves, but we share our work and we build a sense of community so that we can create and learn from each other. Because when you're in the industry, yes, there's a product, and if you're the designer on it, that's your responsibility to bring it to life. But you also work with an immense amount of other people who have equal stake in the project and bringing it to life. So it's important that we collaborate, we learn how to work together, so that we win together. So that's really the whole premise of the program. We pay our students to learn. So our students make New York minimum wage. I also get a housing stipend each month to support, their living in New York City. And the first year is all instruction. So I lead that portion. We also take products to market. So our students are learning by doing. So they're learning through the design of either footwear, apparel that we take to Foot Locker, Adidas.com, and other retailers. And then the second year is when they start to work with other business units and create products with other business units before they exit the program and move into their full-time roles thereafter.
Wow. So all the things that were jumping out for me, I'm hearing about paying the students to learn, which again is so important. So the fact that they will be, and again, living in the city, it doesn't mean that you're broke in Manhattan. All right. So you can live wherever, right? It's just getting access to, and also the fact that there is a career track after the program. But more importantly, what jumped out to me was community. And so just thinking about folks who might be joining the program, teens who have never left home. This is their first time doing a truly intense design program, but being a part of something where you're getting help and apprenticeship and support is so important, and absolutely would help, I think, help them get assimilated and learn faster even.
For sure. Exactly. When you go the traditional design route and you go to a university or a college, a lot of times the things that you're creating, they aren't actually real products. Sometimes they're blue sky thinking projects. They're projects that are maybe sponsored by a brand. I remember being in college and I did a Disney exhibit that was maybe sponsored by Disney, but there was no guarantee that it was going to make it out into the world. So what's really important and what we offer our students is the ability to learn through a true process with all of the constraints of the business. So when you're designing a product and it's going to market, there is a business plan, meaning there is a budget for it. And you have to work within that budget because there are financial implications to not hitting those costs. So with those types of constraints, it actually makes you more creative because you're not just designing anything without any boundaries. That's not real. You're working within a real framework that has boundaries and constraints and is complex. But then you get to see your problem solving abilities grow because you have to work within the particular confines of the factory or what they can build or limitations with materials and those types of things. So it makes you a better designer and a better problem solver because you have to work through the constraints of the business in a real world setting. So.
Wow. And at the end of that, there's an actual product. So I could see as a student, my actual design come to life, something I can actually use.
You can you can wear it. Your family can wear it. You can go to, Foot Locker and purchase it or purchase it from Adidas.com. So it's real and it's out there.
Wow.
Exactly. I love that. I know that sounded like
all Bella heard was design in New York, and I know you now. I only have to be 18 and I'm on my way.
Got like 4 more years. I was wondering what tips you would share with teens who are considering design.
What tips would I share? It's gonna sound very cliche, but practice. Draw as much as you can and share your work. I think sometimes we may have a tendency to think that, if I share this, someone's going to steal my work or something like that. I'll just say, give it away, because it's not the best thing that you're ever going to create, right? The more that you practice, the better you're going to be. And ultimately you just want feedback, right? So if someone loves it and they take it, then that's great feedback. It lets you know that, I'm doing something that works. And all you want is feedback. You want to know, should I move this way or should I move that way? Does this line, or does this design look good or does it need some work? You just want feedback. And the more that you share it, the more feedback you'll get and then you can get better. That's really the goal. And then I'll say, find a community. For me, going to a design high school, it was really helpful because I was with other, artsy students who were also pursuing the same. I say artsy because I'm sure there's a lot of connotations that come with that. But, when you're in a group in a small setting with your peers, so people that you think are weird, just as weird as you are, or people who maybe are a little bit more reserved or introverted like you are, you find your tribe, right? You find a sense of community, which makes you feel safe. It makes you feel confident, like you can take chances and maybe do some things you wouldn't have done otherwise. And you really need that, as a young person, as a teen, and as a developing designer, you need other people around you that are going in the same direction you are to make each other better.
Wow. Yeah. I love that. As you were speaking, it reminded me a lot of chorus. I know I talk about music a lot. I really do love music. I've been singing since I was like 4. Mm-hmm. And I recently found a video of me singing when I was like 5 or 6. because I went on one of my old devices and I just found a random video of me singing for 5 minutes straight. And like, I was watching it and I was like, I've been singing for such an insanely long time. I don't sound anything like I did when I was like 5, but I've gotten better at singing as well. And it's like constant practice, obviously not to the point where you like exhaust yourself, but like constant practice and sharing my voice and like singing for people who want to hear it. And, you know, just like being able to develop a talent, develop the skill made me just love it even more. And like when I was in 4th grade, we were allowed to like join chorus, and when I did, I think like I kind of found a group of people who I could relate to. And then when I got to middle school, and there were more people who genuinely wanted to be in that class and who actually wanted to, you know, sing, and they wanted to be in chorus, and they wanted to do the concerts and be friends with all these people, it made me feel like there was a place where I could just go, where I know every single person in that class like had the same mindset. We all love music. We all want to sing. We all want to be here. And it made me a better singer. It made me genuinely a better person.
Yeah, and definitely can see the correlation to the same mindset in the design community. It's your passion, and you're improving on it, and you're surrounding yourself with people who have that same mindset, and they end up encouraging you sometimes in your lowest times, and they're there when, you know, things are just killing. Like, I just can't imagine, like, you create that product and you're looking at your actual sneaker or your apparel, whatever that is, like your, you know, that, and then you have this group that, you know, to kind of help champion you on. So I want to talk about strength finders and team values that you use within the program. And I was thinking about this because, you know, Cheresse, I'm trying to take you everywhere I go. Like, anybody who has anything to do with teas, any programs, I'm like, nope, I'm taking her, I'm taking Steve, and go everybody. And so I wanted to talk about strength finding, because here is like one of the issues that you run into. Like, how do you even know, is it like when someone is right for this area, or how do you kind of not manage, but how do you support teams who are just coming into this? Maybe they're not right now the best designer, but you can kind of see the potential. Is that something that Strength Finder does? And then how does that tie back with the values that you guys have at S.E.E.D?
Yeah. So what we're trying to do is actually just create more awareness of creative fields earlier. And, you know, I think when we're talking to young people, whether it's, you know, elementary school students or junior high or high school, I think it's just about planting a seed, really. I'm trying to, I don't want to be cheesy or whatnot, but it's really simply just trying to keep it simple. I'm not getting into design process. I'm not getting into some of the other more complicated themes. I just present the idea and say, hey, you know, look at those shoes that you're wearing. Do you know that someone created those? You know, just simply starting there. Because I think, you know, we all wear sneakers or footwear in some way, shape, or form. And it's something that we choose most likely, or kids are picking things out and saying that's what they want. And there's just an opportunity to say that someone created it, so that they have that awareness that it was made by a person just like them. It didn't necessarily fall out of the sky or just appeared. Someone actually thought about it. And I think that's a great place to start. And then doing the same thing with apparel as well, just asking a question and say, oh, well, did you know that someone created that thing that you actually really love? And most of us have a favorite t-shirt or a favorite pair of shoes or a favorite pair of socks. And someone is sitting at a desk actually thinking about those things and how to create things that make people feel great, right? And I think sometimes a lot of times we purchase sneakers or apparel that looks good on us, and when we look good, we feel good, and then we play well or we perform well. So the products that we wear on our bodies, they're more than just, you know, things we cover ourselves with, but they have the power to really, enhance our confidence or make us feel like we can do things that we probably thought we couldn't have done otherwise, right? If we think about MJ flies, right, and his product, and we think it's the shoes. And so there's a lot of storytelling and associations we may have to particular products, but someone designed it that way. Someone thought about associations and brought that into the product, so much so that you now want to buy it because you have a particular association to it. Someone thought about that and they designed it in.
That's such a good message. I was just thinking about all the parents as we're out, even as we're out shopping, is to just make that statement. If you know that your kid has a design bug, right, is to literally make that statement. Somebody designed that, right? Exactly. Because our mentality is we go in the store and it's magic. It shows up on the shelf, or you're buying it online and it just magically shows up. But it's really taking a beat to think about, someone actually designed that shoe that you're wearing. I love that.
Yeah. And if we think about the business part of it, so the footwear industry from a finance standpoint is probably a $90 billion industry, and it's growing. Wow. There's going to be more people on the planet. There's going to be more need for footwear. So there's tons of opportunity. There's tons of jobs, within design, whether it's color design or graphic design or footwear design in the traditional sense, or brand design. There's so many roles within design and within footwear and apparel, for anyone to pursue.
Wow. Well, maybe we'll make a Bella Rose shoe. See what I did there? Please. Are you still with us, Bella? I'm just trying to make sure you're awake.
I'm not.
You left.
I left after that comment. That comment just...
it took you out. So can we talk about Pensole Lewis College of Business and Design for a second, and a little bit more of framing of what is that and how does that tie into S.E.E.D? Just to go a little bit deeper into what Pensole is.
Sure. So one of my great mentors, Dr. Dwayne Edwards, I affectionately call him D. So D was a very instrumental part of, just helping me get my foot into the industry. I met him when I was in college through another one of my classmates who he had also mentored and helped, get into the industry as well. So Dwayne was at the Nike brand for a very long time, also the design director of the Jordan brand for a long time, and designed a lot of products. I think he designed the Jordan 21 and 22, if you know which ones those are.
Wow.
He designed a lot of other footwear for Carmelo Anthony, Derek Jeter, a lot of different athletes throughout his career. And he always just, it was always a teacher at heart. He helped to create pathways for a lot of designers in our industry, especially designers of color. And he wanted to really create a school and create a pathway for people who maybe didn't have access to traditional schooling for design, to create a pathway for them to get into the industry. So in 2010, he started Pensole Footwear Design Academy, which was based in Portland, Oregon. And, he had grown, that program and put a lot of designers into the industry, probably over 500 in all of the different brands. Wow. And then he had the opportunity to merge, his academy with Lewis College of Business, which was a HBCU that had been closed for quite some time in Detroit, Michigan. And so recently he, retrieved the rights to that school. So now we have both schools coming together. So Pensole Lewis College of Business and Design, that's based in Detroit, Michigan. The first HBCU that focuses on design solely, which is really amazing. And the first one to actually come back after being closed. So it's an amazing program. Dwayne sits on the board of S.E.E.D, of our program, and we partner maybe on projects, on educational opportunities. But yeah, that's just the gist of the school for right now, and it's in its infancy. So they're doing lots of master classes. So you can feel free to check them out on pensole.com.
I love that. And I dropped the link in the chat. So for those whoever's on the live, or we have a lot of people that watch our replays, the link is in the chat. So, please make sure you check it. Also, on LinkedIn, Dr. Dwayne is always on fire with some of the most encouraging posts. So, go on and, check him out on LinkedIn as well. And he does actually respond, which is really cool, I think. So yeah, definitely make sure that you do that. So before we go into projects that the students are working on, I wanted to take a little bit of a shift while we have you and monitor our time. So usually we're on for about 40 minutes. So I'm just trying to make sure I get all my 70 questions answered before.
No worries.
We were talking a little bit before we joined or we kicked this off about managing anxiety and any tips that we could share. And I was saying backstage that this is really important because we have a lot of folks who will see someone as super successful as you are, and they're struggling with different anxiety or stress. And we're looking for tips and advice on how we can manage, how our own professional and personal lives. And there are teams that, teen designers that will look at you and go, okay, she made it. I don't know how she made it, when I can't manage my own anxiety. So what kind of advice would you be willing to share around how you manage your own, mental health, mental wellness and anxiety?
For sure. And I'll say it's there's hasn't been a magic pill for me, to be honest. And I started to deal with anxiety probably around 2015 or so, where I knew that I was going to be leaving my job. And I was going through all of the emotions, of coming to terms with needing to make that move for myself. It wasn't that I was being ousted out of the brand or that there were other opportunities. I just was feeling intrinsically within myself that I had accomplished all of the things I wanted to accomplish, at that stage of my life professionally. There were some personal things and goals that I wanted to accomplish that my career just wasn't allowing me to get after at the time. And I was getting older, I was approaching, I was already 30 and I was approaching 31 at the time. And I think you'll get to points in your life where you really start to ask yourself, where am I? On my path and my journey, right? Am I where I want to be? Have I sacrificed too much, along this path? Are there things that are really important to me that I don't have time to get after? At the time I was living in Oregon, all my family was in South Florida. My grandparents had passed away while I was in Oregon. So, as time goes on, you just start to think about what you really want your life to look like and what are the really important things to you. And I knew I wanted to be closer to my family, and I wanted to teach, and I wanted to impact the world larger than just putting more products out into the world, because we really don't need more, right? And I was also toying with the idea of, the fact that I'm producing things that are going to be in a landfill one day, and do we need more of them? And I'm spending so much time doing this thing and does it matter? Those are all this was like a quarter life crisis I was having. But you really you have to stop and reflect and ask yourself those really hard questions. And I was coming up with answers that I needed to action and change at the time. And I think that's when the anxiety really started to sink in for me. I remember being on a plane going to Asia, going to one of the factories, and I had started to feel those first feelings of anxiety and not actually knowing what it was. To feel it for the first time, it makes you feel like, am I having a heart attack, or like what's happening? And those just starting building up to a full on panic attack a few months thereafter. And I think that was the moment where I realized I had to take a step back. So I resigned shortly thereafter. And then I realized that the anxiety started to diminish a little bit. And then it would peak up every now and again. And I think now I'm just starting to learn, that I have to take my vitamins and drink water and sleep. I actually have an app and an Aura ring. I don't know if you've heard of that, but this is a ring that I wear. It's called the Aura ring. And it has little sensors on the inside. It can actually track like your heart rate. It can track like your readiness, gives you a readiness score for the day. It tracks your sleep, so you wear it while you're sleeping. So those types of things I feel like have been really great to just help me stay accountable. I have a bedtime now that I want to adhere to. So it's like all the things that you experienced as a kid that you thought you didn't need is actually something real, you should get an adequate amount of sleep. If you're not getting enough sleep, then that's really going to contribute to, anxiety and insomnia and all of those things. So I would say vitamins. Magnesium is a great thing to take at night as well, because it helps.
I'm writing this down, y'all. Well. Don't shame me. I'm writing it
down. My doctor actually told me magnesium is something we don't get enough in our own, in the foods that we eat. And so taking a magnesium supplement at night has been something that would really work. So I started to do that a few months ago, and it's something that's really, really helped me sleep, because I was dealing with insomnia as well. So that's a big thing that really helps, for sure.
Wow. How about you, Bella? Because I know one of the things you've been dealing with some anxiety. Is this helpful? Do you need me to ask her some more questions? We still asking for our friends. We got the magnesium down.
I don't really struggle with anxiety that much. It's more just it's more like mental health, like not, how do I put this? Not anxiety, because like it's the amount of anxiety that I would have is just me being nervous about something, but it's not like actual genuine anxiety, like hers. But I do struggle with, mental health,
stress,
and like a lot of stress and how people perceive me is something that I think about way too much. And like what people think about me can really affect my mood, depending on the person. If it's someone I don't care. But if it's like one of my closest friends and I find out that they're like, or they like stop caring about me as much, or like
then you go the opposite way. And I'm the total opposite. I'm like, okay.
Right.
But you're right. But all of that bottled together can build up into anxiety if you don't manage it early.
For sure.
And, Tina's thanking you for the magnesium tip.
Yeah.
So you're helping at least 3 of us right now. So okay. So maybe we'll ask about some of the projects then. Did you want to take that question, Bella?
Yeah. I just wanted to speak, Bella. I wanted to just kind of address what you mentioned in terms of really focusing on what others may think about you. And I get that. I think it's a totally natural human thing to do, or want to really care about how we're being perceived. And I think it's something that most people actually consider, right? And I think for myself, when I think about that, I also put it on the other person and say, well, they're probably actually also thinking about what I think about them. Yeah. So it almost kind of creates a level playing field to say we're all having the same shared experience. And I think if we acknowledge that, then it almost kind of takes the pressure off as well. Because
that's true.
Your friends are probably thinking about, oh, well, what is Bella thinking about me? And, if she didn't look at me today, is she mad? Or, if she didn't acknowledge me, is she mad at me? Did I do something? So I think we're all feeling those same things. And I think communication is key. It's hard to do if we're feeling, emotions about something. Even writing it down, writing down those feelings. If you're not in a place to be able to address the person or speak to them, just writing it down and getting it out of your head and onto something physical that you can actually read, and then you can go back to it and read it and acknowledge and say, okay, is this something that I should action, or is this just a feeling I was having in a moment and I let it go and I can acknowledge that it was just a feeling in the moment, so being able to process those things in different ways and give it some time and come back to it and ask yourself, was that real, or was that just a feeling in the moment?
That's really good advice. I'm taking that for myself.
Yeah.
No, it's mine. All right. So as we're closing in, as we're getting closer to the end of our live, I would love to know more about some of the cool projects that your students are working on. And if you want to, we would love to see, pictures, and we can share screens if you want to.
Yeah, for sure. So So you can see a lot of our team's work on my own website. So if you go to CheresseThornhill.com, I have a lot of the work that our team's done. Some of the work that I've done in my career is there as well. But a lot of the fun projects that we've worked on are really kind of tried and true Adidas silhouettes. So the Superstars, the shell toes is probably like a really popular silhouette, and we've had the opportunity to apply our own color stories to them. And when we started the program, it was January of 2020. So we kicked it off right before the pandemic in New York City. So you can imagine, what that process was like. And, we kicked off in January all in person. And then by March, we were all at home in our respective homes. And we had to still run the program and create products. So I was having samples sent to my home. I was on, Zoom with the team, looking at color swatches. We would meet at the park. And so we created product in a very tough time, but it was excited to bring it to life. We also did a storytelling class with Jonah Hill. So a lot of the ways in which our program is structured, we look for open source educators, because I don't want our students to only always just hear from me. Like I said before, partnership and collaboration is so important, and it's important for our students to hear from other people in different industries as to how they approach the same things. So we had a 6-week storytelling class with Jonah Hill, which was really fun. We've worked on apparel, we've worked on footwear. We worked on a promo collection for the WNBA, which hopefully will be out, on some of the players in the future. So we've done a lot of amazing products, and we're working on some really fun stuff I can't share at this moment, but stay tuned. In the next few weeks, we'll be able to share, what we've been cooking in the lab for a while.
We're open to try on prototypes.
I will tell you my shoe size after.
Yeah. We'll talk about it in the after party.
For sure.
We're happy to do that. So before we let you go, I wanted to ask, this is a kind of a question we like to ask folks, is what do you want to be known for?
It's a great question. I want to be known for my generosity, honestly. I want to be known as someone who answered a question when someone really needed, an answer, someone who was open and freely shared information, because I think that information is just so hoarded, and there's so much stuff that if we knew better, we would have done better, but we just didn't know. And I want to be the person that's just, I love learning. I have tons of books. So I'm always just consuming information and learning things and trying things only so I could share and pass it on to other people. So the magnesium tip today, I'm glad that you guys got some value out of it, and I want you to try it and then let me know if it works for you. But I make my life about learning, and I really want to encourage others to learn and just be generous with the information that they've, been, fortunate enough to attain, and to be the person that shows grace to someone else and shares that content, that information with someone else.
Wow, that's incredible. I'm so happy to meet you. I told you, I think the first time we met, I felt like you're just now a part of my permanent circle.
Absolutely.
We are so proud of everything that you're doing. This is so incredible and gracious. You're just so gracious about it. Meanwhile, we're like, oh my God, it's Cheresse. This is a huge thing for us. And we just genuinely, really, truly appreciate all of your contributions, and again, helping kids in our communities rise higher.
Anytime.
So we're going to have you come back. But before we let you go, we're going to hang out in the back room for the after party that no one else is invited to. But at the after party, Beyonce is going to be here. Jay-Z is coming, Oprah, the normal. But in the meantime, we'll tell these people deuces. Thank y'all for watching.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thanks. Bye-bye.